Ladies and gentlemen, So What Morning Show back in the building Tuesdays, rmconair.com. You know you need to get at me. Today is a special show. We got guests online, guests on the phone, and of course our crack team is in the building right now. Jeff Brown, Dr. Mark Goulston. Listen, today's show is going to be crazy. I just want to get right to it. Get to your phone lines, 323-965-1600. Of course, this is caller participation. We want to know what's on your mind. If you have questions regarding the issues that we're going to bring up today, please call us, man. We want to keep it fair. We want to keep it honest. We want to keep it respectful. Call us. We don't have all the answers, but we want to engage in the conversation that makes you think outside of what you thought you knew was true. 323-965-1600. So what morning? Now, before I give you guys the topic, you know, as commonplace, I like to hit you upside the head with a couple of books. Here's a book selection for today, and after this book selection, I'm taking a quick break, and when I come back, I'm going to intro all my people that's on the line. So, here we go. Close Encounters, Communication in Relationships by Laura K. Guerrero. Now, this book is a little expensive. I bought it at a yard sale for $7, but when I looked it up on Amazon, it's $90.
Yeah,
but
yard sale $7.
But it's a communication book for relationships, intimate relationships. You should check it out. Another one of my favorite books, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Now, it's a lot of letters in there. Paramahansa Yogananda. All you have to do is look it up, though. The Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a very, very, very powerful and great book. Like I said, it's the type of book, it's kind of crazy. Can you imagine somebody just banging for their city? You know, like, I'm from Pasadena, you know, and everybody from Pasadena bangs for Pasadena. We rep Dina. Like, people from Philly rep Philly. People from Harlem, I'm repping Harlem.
Chicago.
This is Paramahansa Yogananda repping for India. you know what I mean? It's that kind of book.
Stop sleeping on New Delhi.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of book. You know, he talks about the physicist Bose, the guy who created Bose speakers. Of course, him and Einstein came together with a formula back in the day, a long time ago. So he talks about India's accomplishments, whether in science, spirituality, religion, the whole nine. It's a very, very powerful book. You should check it out. My next book is a book by Kevin Powell.
My boy, shout out to Kevin Powell.
Right? The Black Male Handbook, A Blueprint for Life. Very, very good book. Please check it out. I got to roll through these quickly. Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery, Naeem Akbar. Please go get these books. Check it out. And of course, if you want a copy of my book, please don't hesitate. Email me at 2319zo1@gmail.com. 2319zo1@gmail.com. Yo, today's show is going to be crazy. I'm taking a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to introduce my special guest in the building along with my panel. It's going to be nuts today. We'll be back in 2.2. Make that a minute. We'll be back in about a minute, and I'll tell you what's cracking after that. Deuces.
Runway's ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, So What Morning's back in the building. Let's get to it. Today's topic: state of the black male union. with Dr. Umar Abdullah Johnson. I'm going to tell you who this brother is in a moment, man. This is crazy. Also, that's our special guest, Dr. Umar Abdullah Johnson, on the line with us right now. But we've also got James Hanna, Truth Paste, on the phone as well. He's in the building. And again, Jeff Brown,
Always.
comedian extraordinaire, intellectual irritant,
That's it.
as well as
That brother right there?
that brother
Oh,
right
dude,
there.
I love that brother right there.
Yo,
Oh,
man,
yeah,
he's a
yeah,
cold
yeah.
piece of work, man, and we want to bring this information to the streets. And of course, let's not forget our white connection, Lord Whitey Locks, in the building. Dr. Mark Goulston, who always asks the ignorant white question. Today's going to be a little tenuous for you, Doc. He's the author of Just Listen, as well as Real Influence. Welcome back to the show, Doc.
Thank you. Well, I'll try and be ultra ignorant today to make up for all the smarts we're going to be hearing
I
from.
don't know if you want to be ultra ignorant. Now, let me do this. Dr. Umar Johnson is a nationally certified school psychologist who practices privately throughout Pennsylvania and lectures throughout the country. Umar is a blood relative of Frederick Douglass, the great black abolitionist and orator. Listen, this dude right here is one of the few young brothers, only at 33, one of the few
33?
Yes. One of the few young brothers that I listen to, that I look to for guidance. He is a powerful voice where in our community we see a void. You know, the last strong black man a lot of kids saw was James Evans.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So
The kitchen in the bedroom, Florida. The kitchen in the bedroom.
you feel me? So to be able to have a young voice that's powerful, that's progressive, that's informative, that's inspirational, that's motivational, man, it's my pleasure to welcome the brother. Welcome, Brother Umar Johnson, to the Zo What Morning Show.
Oh, good morning to you guys. Good afternoon to folks on the East Coast where I am. It's an honor to be on the show. And just to clarify, I probably need to brush up the bio a little bit. I'm 38 years old at this point, and also a doctor of clinical psychology.
Wow.
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 And still a young man.
And still at 30, brother, I've heard you speak on YouTube, and to your credit, I had no idea you were 30 anything because of the depth of the way your get down is.
Oh, man, taking off from the free throw line with a blindfold
Oh,
on,
my God,
just dunking.
reverse dunk. Get out the way before you get your career ended.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah.
So Umar and James is on too. Let's get James Hanna on. James?
What up?
What up,
up,
brother
fellas?
James?
Hannah
What's
Dog,
going
what's
on?
up?
How you doing today?
I'm good, sir. What's going on?
Oh man, hey, we glad to have you. We glad to have you in here, brother. I appreciate it. Let me do this. You know the rhythm of the show. Brother James Hanna does. Brother Umar does not right now. So what I like to do is hit people upside the head with questions. Can we do that real quick? As a matter of fact, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, oh, we can keep going. Okay, good. All right. This is what we're going to do. I'm just going to hit you upside the head with questions. And I like to do this because this is a State of the Union. First off, let me say this. A lot of people complain about the show that we do because they think it's imbalanced. They think somehow we favor men. We don't call men to the floor. Well, this is why I'm doing this show. 2013 State of the Black Male Union. What do we need to be accountable for?
Can I say something about the people who have a problem with the way we do our show?
Jeff.
Don't? Oh, okay.
No, go
easy,
ahead,
no.
Jeff. Go ahead.
Watch another damn show. You can do that. Two,
Thanks.
Yeah.
generally,
Yeah.
the people who say that this show is slanted are also the people who don't like anything negative being said about anything to do with their particular group of people. That's you're not listening if you don't think we brothers get it hard. Whitey gets it hard. Not Whitey. You get it hard.
Whitey gets it hard, and he
gets it
hangs in
hard,
there.
and he comes right back because he gives it hard. But yeah, that's just because you don't want nothing said about you.
So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start it with the questions.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, this is a crazy question right here. Somebody flow with me on here. Why should you never lose? And I'm talking about black men in general.
Okay.
Why should black men never lose their temper with white folk?
I have no idea.
323-965-1600.
Okay.
What would the desegregation of schools or the educational system look like for black men? If we just took black men, maybe black men and women, out of the educational system and put them in a black-run and organized educational system, how would we flourish, black men? That's an interesting question. 323-965-1600. Should the United States, these are questions that I put out on Twitter and Facebook and all of these places. I said, listen, if you want to ask Dr. Umar a question, you should reach out and let us know. Somebody hit me back with this. Should the United States government be brought before the United Nations and charged with crimes against humanity?
No.
Listen to that. 323-965-1600. How is the feminist movement, high divorce rates, welfare, judicial gender bias, and custody battles responsible for the increase of absent fathers in the black community? 323-965-1600.
Did a show just Jeff Brown on that one.
Jesus. Is there an outright assault against the black alpha male? If so, how? A lot of people are hitting us with questions. How does the educational system effeminize and emasculate black men? People want to know these answers. It's very, very, they want to know the answers to these questions, man. And our culture, our situation, we in trouble. So we bring brothers on like this brother right here to answer the questions. I'm going to hit you with this last question, and then we're going to go right into the conversation. Let's just do it.
Right into the get down.
Right into the get down. Right? No, you know what? No more questions. Let's just jump right into it. Dr. Umar, I hit you with a lot of questions, brother. Talk to us about what we need to do to turn our situation around as a culture.
Well, number one, we have to educate our own children. Everything starts with education. And when we speak of education, we're not just talking about teaching children how to read and write and do arithmetic. That is a very narrowly constructed definition of what education is. That is the functional definition of education in a capitalistic society. Public education in America was initiated because business need laborers who were marginally literate.
Come on, man.
That's why
Come on,
public education was brought into existence. For African-American children coming out of a legacy of slavery, the role or the purpose of education remained the same, to make sure that they could do some basic reading, writing, and arithmetic so their labor could be properly exploited for big business. So education that we have in America does not educate the whole child.
For worker
it only
ants.
educates them enough so they can go and function, have their labor exploited by big business.
Wow.
When we say that African people have to educate our own African children, we're saying we have to educate the whole child, which includes teaching them, number one, love for self and how to be loyal to their community. That's very important. Why? Because if you teach a child anything else before you teach them loyalty to their own culture, then whatever else you teach them will be used against the best interest of their culture. If you take a look at President Obama, Sister Oprah, Bill Cosby, who's from North Philadelphia right here as I am, you look at all these great athletes, entertainers, and politicians, many of them, their behavior, and we're not going to demonize them totally because they've all done some good things, but by and large, their behavior has not really been consistent with our best interest. And that's because although they are very, very intelligent, because they were never really taught loyalty to their community, their intelligence is often used to the benefit of other people.
Wow.
Look at President Obama's agenda. It's almost exclusively non-African.
Wow.
Look at Oprah Winfrey's fan base, almost exclusively not African. That is not a coincidence. It's because their talents have been developed to be used for other people and not the benefit of their own. So we got to teach them loyalty before we teach them anything else.
Wow, good
Other
point.
things that are not taught well.
I got a question for you, Don.
Science. Culture starts with agriculture. Our children are not taught how to grow and take care of themselves by living off the land. That's very important. political and military science. Our children need to be taught what is going on right now in their political and economic time of day. What is Afrikaans? Why is homosexuality and lesbianism so prevalent in society right now? Why was President Obama selected to be the president? Where does AIDS and HIV come from? Why is there mass incarceration war against black males?
Wow.
Why are more than 33% of all of our children growing up in poor households? They need a solid political education.
Man,
Then
so
they also
Doc,
need a
Doc,
solid economic and financial education.
Dr. Umar,
Also.
let me stop you for 1 second.
I want to say something too.
That was heavy. He dropped it. He took off.
Dude, I love this dude.
I love this dude.
Anytime
So listen, James Hanna, Jeff Brown, Mark Goulston, and Mark, we need your input on this as well. We got full lines on because I want everybody to be able to interact with some of the callers as well. James Hanna, you had a thought.
I was just going. I mean, everything you said, brother, was deep, deep, deep. The only thing was, can you just say it like it is and say them niggas sold out?
Who sold out?
All the people mentioned on his list.
Oprah, Barack, with the exception of Bill Cosby, these niggas are just selling out. They got this not. It's more to it than what their education. It's just niggas. All our best and our brightest are completely sold out.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, Doc.
Jeff Brown.
I had a thought that kind of weaves with that, is a cousin to that. When you say that they were educated first in their professions or their abilities before they were to love their communities, do you think that they would be in the places they are if they were if they had the teaching to love community first? Would they even be those people?
Possibly been, not exactly, but they could have still, because you're dealing with very brilliant people, they could have still been able to realize a degree of success that probably wouldn't be for where they are now, but would be somewhat close to it. See, the issue ultimately becomes what is more important, my own personal agenda or the greater good of the race.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we take the greater, we tend to take a selfish outlook on success that basically looks at what's in my own best interest, even if it's against the best interest of my people.
Mark Goulston.
Dr. Umar, it's so good to have you on, and those were very deep thoughts. In terms of, I want your input on this thing. Someone I know had a great quote, and you'll think you know it, but you really don't. And it was, if you give a child a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a child to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But if you teach a child to learn, you feed him for a lifetime, and he doesn't have to just eat fish. And the idea is, I think we need to focus on how people learn, and how do we get black, white, how do we get our kids to be curious as opposed to focused on having and just doing and keeping busy? How do we make being curious and thinking something that's gratifying as opposed to something that just seems to take too long? Because you can teach till the cows come home, and if they're tuning you out and they're checking their emails and they're texting each other under the table, I don't know what good it does. So I love your input on that, and you can trash any of the stuff I just said.
No, sir, I agree with you. First off, we have to understand that education is a function of the 3 R's. Whenever I travel the country and I teach our principals and teachers and school psychologists, I often try to hammer them with the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's of education? Rigor, holding the child accountable academically, motivating them to achieve their best in the classroom. That's the rigor. You want to put demands on them that they can fulfill and that they can handle. Okay? The second one is relevance, though. The instruction got to be relevant. The curriculum got to be relevant. The reason why America's school children, all of them, black and white, but especially the African Americans, are so turned off from learning isn't because they have a problem receiving an education. It's because the education that they are receiving is not keeping pace with the technological development of the society. You cannot expect a child who lives in a technologically sophisticated community to go to a school that is still teaching them on 16th century methods. By and large, many of our children are still being educated with books that their grandparents were educated on. The technology of the classroom in most inner city school districts that serve our children has not kept pace. So for me, I don't really think we have to do a lot to make the children curious. They
Wow.
What's the third R? These are great. I got to hear the third R.
In fact, the word education comes from educar, which means to educe or pull out the natural genius that is lying dormant within the child. So even the word education is based on the assumption that they already have it within them, and we simply have to hope to manifest it. But
Wow.
the problem is that the people who we have in front of our children, a lot of them are not really there for the right reasons. As someone who works in schools, I can tell you at least 25% of America's teachers are in their second career with education, and they did not come into the school because they want to help black children. They came into the school to pay their mortgage because they got laid off at the bank, or they got laid off at Wall Street, or they got laid off at whatever particular job that was their actual chosen profession.
Wow.
So we have a lot of people who don't know how to teach, who are in the schools teaching our children under emergency certifications, which basically says you have a bachelor's degree, and if you don't have any felons on your record, we will put you in a classroom with
Wow.
an emergency cert.
Wow.
They're not taught how to teach. So when we look at the failure of African-American children, and our boys in particular, we got to put it in context. If the children are failing, it's because the school systems and their parents, I don't want to leave them out, are failing them. The children are not the perpetrators of the miseducation machine. They are the victims of it.
All right, so let me do this because the brother covered a lot.
But he didn't cover that third R.
Oh, what was the third R real quick, Umar?
And the third R, which is the most important one, is relationships. You cannot teach a child who you don't like. You cannot teach a child who's not sure if you like them. You cannot teach a child who you're constantly
Relationship.
down-talking, degrading, punishing, suspending, and expelling.
Wow.
A good teacher is like a good therapist. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have, nor does it matter how long you have been teaching. If you cannot connect with those children in that class on a personal level, I don't care if your doctorate came from Harvard School of Education. If you cannot connect with that group of children on that particular class, in that particular school, you are a failure. Relationships is the foundation of successful education.
Now, let me add to this. You guys hear me talk about my son all the time. My oldest son, 16-year-old ball player. He goes to Santa Monica High. I don't want to put him out there like that. But he tells me all the time, Dad, they don't get me. It's a cultural disconnect. He says this. He's only 6. Dad, they don't understand. It's a cultural disconnect. They'll force you into a box and try to make you perform at a particular level, but they don't get to know you. So when the brother said R for relationship, they're not relating. They're just assessing, judging, categorizing. And that's what my son brought back to me. To go back to what the brother Umar said earlier about the Oprahs, the Bill Cosbys, and all of that. To me, and I've said this in other shows, I said the only reason, or one of the major reasons why black people don't get to and stay together is because we all got a price. We've got a price. And black people will sell other black people out for the sake of protecting what they're after. And it happens to us all the time. And whatever their agenda is, well, I'll sell you out if it means I'll be taken care of, me and mines. We don't see the community as belonging
As us
to
and
us,
ours.
as us and ours. So as long as black people have a price, and I say this all the time, you see it in the hood level and you see it in the corporate level. The hood level is called snitching. And anybody that's dealing in gangster business or dirt on the street, all of them are snitches because all of them have a price.
Yeah.
And they always talk that let's keep it real, let's keep it 100. If the system came and put the clamps down on you, you'll sell out and roll over on all your boys. It happens all the time.
Absolutely.
It happens. Everybody's copping pleas, right? But it also happens on the corporate level too. See, if the black family in America just said no more, you can't buy us. You can't bribe us. They bought hip hop. They bought what was our baseball league? The Negro
Negro
League.
Leagues.
They bought.
League.
You see what I'm
They bought
saying?
Motown.
They buy
fast-
everything we create, and we're willing to sell it. They bought BET. they buy everything we create.
Yep.
So the moment we say you can't afford our creativity, you can't afford that God-given gift that we have to create and sustain ourselves, Then and only then. See, because when I hear Bill Cosby say y'all need to go to school, yeah, school is one element. But if you're not addressing the issue that the brother Umar brought up, which was relationship, connecting to, we're not just teaching you how to read and write and mathematics. We're teaching you to relate to yourself first and then relate to others. We're giving you knowledge of science or knowledge of self. They're not teaching that.
You bring a couple of things to mind.
Go ahead, Jeff.
One, something the doctor said a couple of minutes ago about making good workers is what the educational system was first about. That in itself points to why there is no relationship.
Right.
Because these people are just at these schools boxing up workers.
Well, that's what education is for. Education is for the integration into an economic system.
Absolutely. So
we don't want you too smart.
No, because then you don't fit in the box. Second, I have a prediction as to when this wonderful day will come about, or at least what it will take. The dollar is going to have to collapse. Society is going to have to collapse because this problem that we have is in such a closed loop that it's not going to open up until there is no way to financially separate one from the other. As long as I can go, look, nigga, I got more money than you, you're going to have that problem. Once we collapse.
Zombie apocalypse.
James Hanna? James Hanna?
An apocalypse.
What'd you say, James? I need to hear that.
Niggas need the zombie apocalypse to figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then all that gang stuff.
Nothing
won't matter
short of a
anymore.
race war is going to work.
Bougie hood rat and all that stuff won't matter anymore. It's just we're running from the undead.
Yeah.
Wow.
When people are looking to eat you, then you know what? And you.
But let me ask all of you this question, and I'm gonna start with Mark Goulston, and then Dr. Umar, then James Hanna, then Jeff. What about when you hear people say it's time to stop making excuses? You know, Barack Obama does it a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, Barack Obama basically did the speech for the graduates at Morehouse recently, and basically he was just saying be good fathers and, you know, be productive citizens and all of that. What about when you hear people say there are no more excuses for black men? Step up, stand up, and handle your business. Is it easier said than done, or are there still COINTELPRO type situations out there that are trying to hold black men down? I'm going to start with the doc, because the doc is white. And he might be seeing it like, y'all are creating some myths out there that ain't true. Doc,
bunch of whining porch monkeys, get it together.
Doc, do you think that black men are just making too many excuses and we should just step up to the plate and get with the program?
I want to ask Dr. Umar something, so I'll sort of answer your question my usual.
See how white people do?
way.
You ask them a question, and then they answer it with a question.
Well, because you got me thinking, and I want to ask Dr. Umar something, because I think one of the, and this is also about your son, Zoe, I think one of the biggest problems is the negative feedback loop that demotivates people. So when kids or anyone thinks my life's not going to essentially be any better, it's not going to be different, and they project themselves and don't see anything better, they stop trying today. So how do you break the negative demotivator loop that is just rampant, not just in the black community, but almost everywhere? That if you look into the future and instead of seeing hope, you see kind of despair, why try? Why do anything today that doesn't feel good? Why do without sugary junk food if it makes me feel better for 5 minutes when I don't think I'm going to make it to 40 anyway? So, Dr. Umar, I would love your input about how, if you believe that there is a demotivation loop that happens, and if so, how to break it.
Well, number one, I agree with you. I think there is a demotivation loop there. And I think it ultimately depends on the person giving the feedback in what manner and for what purpose are they doing it. For example, I am a pretty frequently requested graduation speaker here on the East Coast. So I do a lot of graduation speeches. And when I speak to young people, I normally do a pre-seminar for the high school seniors, and then there's the speech, and then something post a lot of times. So basically, we got to understand that not telling them the truth is never going to help them. And I'm saying that to say because there's a lot of folks, you have your Bill Cosbys and other people who don't want to focus on the raw reality of black existence. They simply want to say that all the problems are the responsibility of the victim, and the system has nothing to do with it. Well, that's totally incorrect. Every problem that we suffer from has deep social, economic, and political roots in America. But on the flip side, my message to our young people is, yes, there is racism. Yes, the statistics don't look good. But at the end of the day, you are still the master and captain of your destiny. So for me, the feedback that they get cannot be used as an excuse, because at the end of my message and all during my message, I'm going to make sure that they are clear that if I was able to escape the ghettos of North Philadelphia and earn my 6 degrees and work for myself and never go to jail, you can do it too.
Wow.
And give back to my community. So I think that we owe them the responsibility of telling them the truth. We should never hide them from the reality that they're going to face, but at the same time, empower them to believe in themselves enough that they can overcome anything that the system throws at them.
Okay.
Wow, that's good stuff.
That's great. Thank you.
James, I want to get James
Okay.
and then you.
I tell my sons like this. I say, look, racism exists, and there's an entire history that proves that this country don't like your black ass. Okay, it's just we've been bred. We basically it's just the way we were bred. You know, we were bred to to hate ourselves and love white. Anybody that says, let me just start. I have a problem with Obama's speech to Morehouse. I have a huge problem with that speech.
Talk to me.
One is that wasn't the fucking place for that speech. Okay, any black male, first of all, half of Morehouse is gay as a waiting room in a Chinese adoption agency. Second, any brother that goes to
That's why
Morehouse,
I
the
never go there.
heterosexual half,
Oh, my God.
don't need that speech. They don't need to hear be fathers and be men. They're pretty much on the track for that. Obama was on some bullshit for that, because that's a little mind trick he plays with his white constituents to let him know he'll check niggas. That's all that was about. Okay, that's all that was about, because he would never have gone to Spelman and said, you bitches stop having baby daddies and kids out of wedlock, because he would have caught hell for that.
Wow.
But whenever he gets in front of us, he has to check us and tell us to be fathers and husbands, when most of the time that crowd was not the crowd that needed to hear that.
Fathers and husbands is what sent them there.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't need to hear that. You know, but he has to show, man. I'm done with Obama.
Oh,
He's
me
a
too.
sellout.
But
I'm so done with that Negro. His job is basically he's the Black Bush. He's there to show whenever he speaks to us, he speaks down to us. But when he talks to white folks, he talks up.
Wow.
He talks like he's serving them. But as for the whole racism, no more excuse. Yeah, racism is not an excuse to say you'll never make it, but it is an obstacle.
Wow.
It's
And
definitely
it's
an
one that
obstacle.
we pretty much just got to live through.
You got to live through it. You got to walk that. You got to get through it. You got to find a way over it or under it. You can't let it stop you from your dream. Okay, there's no excuse. That's what I told my sons. There's no excuse to use to stop you from your dream.
Wow.
Okay, but it's definitely out there. And that's what bothers me about Obama is he wants to tell black people to stop making excuses, but you can't. There's two sides of that coin.
Yeah, it's one thing to say stop
black
making
folks-
it. It's one thing to say stop making an excuse, but it's another thing to tear down the barriers that creates the reason for why it goes back to that old saying, what's the difference between an excuse and a reason? So at the end of the day, if there are real obstacles that are there and you go, oh, don't make no excuses for that, but they're there, they're societal constructs that we have to deal with on a daily basis, let's acknowledge their existence and how they're problematic to us. Like, for instance, there's work, I talk about this a lot, there's work being done at Stanford University on stereotype threat. And the stereotype threat means, especially in an educational space, that minorities do worse on standardized tests at all levels. High school, even college, even at Stanford, even at Berkeley. They do worse because of the stereotypical content that's contained within the standardized tests. You take the stereotypical content out, and then people of color do as good or better than their white counterparts. So to me, I see the stereotypical ideological concepts as propaganda to keep people of color in a subordinate space. So to act like it doesn't exist and you just shouldn't make no excuses. I mean, come on. I go back to Dr. Umar when he says education for people that are oppressed is really about knowing your place in the society of the oppressor. Speak to that, Dr.
Well, here's
Umar.
what, can I say this?
Yeah. Well, James, finish, and then Umar.
Okay. Here's what bothers me. When people talk about there's no more excuses, when people, especially black folks, when they say there's no reason for affirmative action, the thing that bothers me about that is they never bring up white privilege, which is the opposite of that coin.
Tim Wise.
Okay.
Tim Wise. Get one of Tim Wise's books on white privilege. Go ahead. Finish, James.
He doesn't, he's like Obama's anti-affirmative action. And it's like, but dude, if you're going to have the balls to talk about that, then talk about white privilege. I mean, you want to talk about white privilege? Sarah Palin Sarah Palin and George Bush Jr. are the living benefactors of white privilege.
Wow.
Those are two unqualified motherfuckers that made it to the top.
It made it to the top.
So you gonna trip about two unqualified that you think are unqualified black kids getting into some university?
Wow.
I mean, Sarah Palin ain't qualified to be a fucking principal.
Wow.
That bitch got to run for vice president.
Wow. Hey, let's get Dr. Umar's point, and then we're going to grab a couple callers before we go to break. Umar, finish that up, bro.
Yes, sir. Well, without question, I agree with everything that the gentleman had to say there. It's absolutely correct. Whenever President Obama addresses black male audiences, he always has to talk about what we're not doing right, what we need to start doing. And even when he addresses audiences that are predominantly made of African-American women, he likes to downgrade black men also. So he's absolutely correct on that point. Here's something we need to understand. One of the reasons why our children are catching the hell that they're catching, because they don't have to. Not in schools, they don't. They have to deal with racism in the society, but they don't have to deal with it in the school because we are able to have our own schools. So then the question becomes, why isn't the African-American community putting the money up for our young people to be educated by leaders within their own community? See, we could take our Christmas money in any city where we live, just the Christmas money, and build schools. You could take your 4th of July money, which you should not be celebrating anyway because you were enslaved.
Wow.
Okay? And we could take that money and build schools. We could take
the
our
Memorial Day barbecue money.
Easter money, and we could build schools for our children. So when we look at the racism that our children are suffering academically, and let's be clear, only 1 out of every 4 African-American boys in this country gets or will get a high school diploma.
Wow.
Only 3 out of every 100 African-American boys born into this country will ever see the inside of a college. So we have to look that it is a failing system, but although the community loves to criticize what the American social order isn't doing about African-American learners, they're not criticizing their own negligence and apathy towards creating their own independent schools to teach our children the way that they need to be taught.
Wow.
And the other issue is that we better get real serious and real quick because public education is quickly becoming a thing of the past.
It's true.
In Philadelphia, they're shutting down 50 to 60 schools.
Yes.
New York City, Chicago, 50 schools.
49.
I just came from St. Louis, Hartford, Boston, South Florida. They are disintegrating public education all across the inner cities of America. And why? We only built the schools to teach you to work for us. We don't need you anymore. We have over 4 million illegal, undocumented immigrants who are willing to work in your place without insurance, without minimum wage, without workman comp. And so what has happened is that the United States government has made a deal with big businesses in order to keep them on American soil and not let themselves move over to second and third world countries where they can pay for labor for $1 a day. The American government has allowed illegal immigrants to stay so they can work for the corporations as a way of influencing the corporations not to relocate. So if black people are no longer needed in the American social order, what is the purpose of public education?
Wow.
To prepare the boys for prison and prepare the girls for a life of poverty. Within 25 years, if we do not have schools for our children, you're going to see a situation where most of our children won't have to worry about being miseducated because they're not going to receive an education anyway.
All.
Hey, so Dr. Mark Goulston, I know this shit sounds like the Terminator reading the Terminator script and the machines are coming and the Matrix. You know what I mean? I know this sounds crazy sitting from your seat. Like, what do you see when you hear this kind of information? Does it sound like Lauryn Hill conspiracy theories, right? Does it sound like we just making up something? Or is this a real issue that maybe you guys, when I say you guys, I mean on your side of the tracks, that you guys may be able to see and feel? Or are you guys disconnected? Talk to me. Let's get some ignorant white up in here.
What I hear, and this is not just about the black community, it's many communities, what I hear is the rage of powerlessness. And the point is, and you might want to, I said this to one of my black friends, he's very angry about all kinds of things, justifiably so. And I said, what do you expect will happen as long as you stay angry, blaming, complaining, and making excuses? Do you think it's really going to change anything? And he looked at me and he said, the reason I rage like that is so I don't get angrier, because if I got any angrier, I would destroy someone or myself. Wow. So I have a little steam to get off my chest, because if I don't, I will explode and I will do something nasty, and I'm not a nasty person. So, but I think what I'm hearing is the justifiable rage of powerlessness. And the point is, and maybe this is white privilege, is what's the outcome you want to get? And do you think the way you're doing it is going to get it? If you do, keep doing it. If you don't think it is, you got to try something else. What I'm also getting from this, and I'm getting a real education, there really needs to be a structural change. I mean, Dr. Umar, you've just educated me in so many ways. I cannot thank you enough. And there has to be a structural change, because you are absolutely right, especially about illegal immigrants coming in, pushing aside the black community so that the black community will have nothing.
Okay. And
Jeff Brown?
With you saying that, Doc, what I'm about to say is incredibly racist, because I am racist, but it's okay because I'm black. That basically puts the bow on what I say when I talk to you all the time. Whenever we discuss problems with black people, you, like most white people, try to open the door to what's wrong with everybody. I want to say I don't give a damn about other people, but that's not true.
Right.
I don't give a fuck about what's going on with anybody other than black people, but because for me to look at what's going on wrong with Puerto Ricans or Indians or Asians is like me standing in front of my house looking across the street going, you know what, you need to cut your grass while my house is on fucking fire. And to say that what this doctor brought up, and that's not to say that you said that, but to say that we are complaining about what is going on is like saying that because I have to run a race with alligators and snakes and shit on the course, that if I say anything about the alligators and snakes, instead of being honest about their presence, that I'm belly aching about them, is foul to me.
Right.
It's just foul.
I love that. 323-965-1600. And we're going to take a quick break. But before I do.
In love.
What? But yeah, Michael Jackson. It's all in love.
In love.
It's all in love.
I wrote the fucking song, In Love. I want it how I said it, or I'll fire your ass and you'll never work again.
Just play it like I wrote it.
Yeah, I love that.
No, but let me just say this too. The thing is hurtful for me, because now we're in a space where anti-intellectualism amongst our kind
is what's up.
Swag and cool and all of this and that. And it bothers me. It bothers me because we need, just like Dr. Umar spoke of earlier, we need the rebirth of the black scientist. We need the rebirth of the black engineer. Black man, black male engineer. We need the rebirth of that. And what we need to understand in this process is that we've got to stop looking for the verification and the validation of the oppressor. That's what we have. And when I say oppressor, understand what I mean by that, Dr. Goulston. If you have control over a people psychologically, you're the oppressor. And the people that you have control over are subject to you, your rules, your regulation. They just passed a law, what was it, yesterday, that now the police can swab your mouth for DNA because they're creating a DNA base. Who do you think is going to have the biggest number of DNA swabs in the new database?
They ain't swabbing on Wilshire. They ain't swabbing. You get pulled over on Rodeo Drive, they ain't going to swab your mouth.
So the point that I'm trying to make is that I think is important. The only way for us to rebuild this community is to stop taking the handouts of validation and verification from them. Them meaning the system, the order that's in place that says we are the authority. Even the educational process works the same way. Just like the brother said, technology is advancing. Like we're very technologically sound, but at the same time, we're spiritually poor.
I'm a bust if I don't say this.
Go ahead.
I think in sometimes fairness and in unfairness, black people are directly compared to Jews in that Jews had the ability to thrive and flourish and put their shit back together within a particular system because there was a system for them to escape to. They could not have put their shit back together under Hitler. There was no way.
But no, it's even, you just hit a great point. I got to get it. Dude, nobody considers the Jews as segregationists.
No, exactly.
You guys have your own schools, right? And a Jewish education is a damn good education.
Oh, you're damn right.
And it incorporates knowledge of self. So when a brother like Umar Johnson says, hey, we need to separate so we can educate our children properly, he gets looked at as a militant or a separatist or something like that.
What do you think? This is Whitey Locke's Jew boy.
Here we go, Whitey Locks.
What do you think about the fact that the Jewish community is driven by fear and the black community is driven by rage?
What do I think of that?
Let me just finish, because I think if you're driven by fear and that the Nazis can come back at any given time, and what happens is you learn to try not to disrupt, and so because that's not an option. Whereas I think when you have a lot of rage, just the expression of rage is so disruptive that people will almost just listen to you without even listening to you, just to get out of the conversation.
Here's what I think of that. I'm about to say some stuff that could end my career. One, from the and again, Chicago high school public education and Mythbusters. That's what I'm working with. I'm not great. Okay. From what I can see, no one in power was ever afraid of Jews. No, you were not. You were not attacked because people were afraid of you.
Now I'm saying that Jews are afraid.
I know exactly what you're saying. This is what I'm saying. Nobody ever attacked you, Bobby, because people were afraid of you. So for you to take a passive position and put your shit together is a lot easier than for black people, especially black males, to take a passive position and get their shit together unless it involves a direct overseer, a direct white point of contact. We have never, ever been able to make a passive or aggressive movement away to get our own shit together. This is what happened to the Black Panthers. This is what happened to the Crips. This is what happens with every social group that says, okay, black people got some problems. Let's get over here and deal with them. Whenever we say that, it's not our rage that creates fear in others. It is our togetherness that creates fear in others.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, James, make it quick because we got to go to break, and then when we come back, we're gonna hit some more.
I might lose all of y'all on this, but this is how I feel. All this black oppression is basically this: it's about big black dicks. Okay, that's what this is all about.
The meat obelisk
is because if there was no such thing as a nigga, white women would be fucking brothers like it's no tomorrow. They would be fucking niggas in the street. So this government has to make us look like animals. It has to make us look bad. It has to undereducate us and dehumanize us to keep some of that white pussy away from us.
To keep some of it, just some of it.
We don't breed, so we do not breed the white man
out of existence
because everybody wants every woman, whether she admits it or not, wants some black dick in her.
Wow.
Okay, so
323.
That's what all of this is about. The second they make us look human, the second they make us look equal in any way, it's on.
Wait a second, James. Are you telling me that because my dick looks like a baby's arm holding an apple, that this is why we're having all this problem?
That's exactly why we're having all this
Because I
problem.
have a leather kickstand in my pants.
Because when a black man walks in a room, he walks in a room with flavor and confidence.
Because
And
my dick
women
has an
find
elbow
that
in it?
shit
That's why?
attractive.
That's the reason.
Is it because my
That's
dick is
what
so
all
big
of
that it
this
has a
shit-
dick?
That's what every piece of racism in America is about.
Suede Billy Club.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why other minorities, other races don't flourish. They flourish in this country. Okay,
Wow.
because there's no. I got into it with a Chinese dude in college about this because he tried to criticize us and say that blacks march and whine, and I said, dude, it's because you flourish because the white man's daughter don't want to fuck you.
Oh,
Okay,
damn.
that's what this is all about. You ain't no. There are porn sites dedicated to white women that want black dick in them. Ain't no I want yellowcock.com.
There
So
sure
that's
isn't.
why.
I've
that's
Okay,
what this shit is
I've looked.
about.
I've looked.
I've looked.
Okay, so listen, we got to take
Okay.
a quick break. When we come back, I want us to deal with this question. How would the black community look if we were conditioned by communism or socialism as opposed to capitalism? Somebody get at me. 323-965-1600. We'll be back at 2.2. Holla. Ladies and gentlemen, Zo What Morning back in the building. RMCOnAir.com, the only place you can get this type of content. It's intelligent, it's funny, it's riveting, it's entertaining. But listen, This is about helping us grow outside of our box, outside of our boundaries. Are black men just whining, complaining victims, or are there real obstacles we gotta face? What would the black community look like if we were conditioned by communism or socialism?
Wow.
As opposed to capitalism? Would women be talking about, I need a provider, if they were conditioned by communism where everything is taken care of? Would there be more or less freedom? A lot of people are confused. They think they got freedom here in America, but you don't decide what you're choosing from. The choices are already preset.
That's it.
So it's an illusion of freedom, in my opinion.
Gun, snake, or needle? Which way you going?
Gun, snake, or needle. 323-965-1600. We want to take a couple of... Whoa. I want to go, before I go to my caller, I want to go to Dr. Umar because I spoke to him during the break. And he had something to add on to what James Hanna said about the black meat obelisk. Go deeper.
Yes, there's some truth to that. We do know that white supremacy, which is the ideological foundation upon which white racism and white privilege functions, is based on white genetic annihilation. The essential purpose of white supremacy is to control African people and any other people for that matter, to ensure that they do not wipe out the white genotype, the white DNA, from being able to exist on Earth. I mean, Europeans are a minority on this planet. They've always been. There's never been a time when they were the majority. And they're conscious of that. They're psychologically conscious of that. They're psychobiologically conscious of that. And it infects all of their political and psychological dealings with black people in particular. Segregation was based on keeping the black man away from the white woman, because if he cohabitates with her, the product of that relationship will be a black child. That's precisely why only black men, for the most part, although Irish were hung, Jews were hung in this country, even Italians were hung, many of the other Southern European immigrants, Chinese were even hung. But only when African-American men were hung in this country were they castrated in nearly every single existence of a hanging.
So you couldn't see that they were well
hung.
hung.
Why were we castrated and not the other men who were hung? Because of white men's white men being conscious of the fact that black men represent a clear threat to white genetic survival.
Wow, that is heavy stuff. We got callers right now. Let's go to them. Let me just say, I appreciate you guys for waiting on the line. I apologize if it taken so long. Mighty Quinn, you're on the line. Holler at me.
Peace to the brothers in the room. Peace to the sisters in the room.
All right, brother.
I live in New York City, and basically jumping off of what y'all talking about, Jews are a major problem in New York City. Okay, we have a Jewish mayor, and this guy does what he wants to do because of his status and the money he has. Okay, status plays a major part in it. But again, to jump back off of that, I think that black people need to go back to the ancient way. This new technology shit is technology. It's garbage. I think, yes, we're the creators of it. We're the ones that built the foundation. We're the architects, like you said, Brother Zoe. I think that we need to go back to being, like you said, go back to being architects and building a different society within ourselves, amongst ourselves, and fight for it, because
But
in the long run,
you
we're
know
gonna
what?
have to fight.
You know what, caller? That's a great point. But let me ask my august panel. In order for us to do that, we got to get our woman back, and our woman has fully, in my opinion, I know there's some great women out there, some great sisters. Let me preface it with that. But in general, the criteria by which they judge us, right? That criteria was programmed into them by who? It seems like they're more on their side than they are on our side. That's just me. Somebody, if you disagree with me, please speak to me.
Welfare state of mind.
Dude, this is not.
Can I respond to that?
Yes. Dr. Umar, speak on it.
Yes, Dr.
Thank you,
Umar
caller.
Johnson speaking. That goes back to slavery. One of the things that enslavement of Africans did in America was it upset the natural gender balance between the black male and female. It made the black woman the controller and power force in the black community and emasculated the black man and reduced him almost down to nothing. And so we've always had that issue since we've been here because of the empowerment of the black woman by white society and the emasculation of the black man by the same society. Right now in America, we are the only ethnic group in this country, the only one, where the women have more education than the men and who actually earn more than the men. That's not true for Native Americans, East Indians, Latinos, white people, Arabs. No one else has that predicament. And it was deliberately engineered to be that way by the American social order to create chaos in the black home. And in and of itself, it's not a problem that the black woman has more education and income. That doesn't make it a problem. What makes it a problem is when she psychologically draws conclusions about the black man as a result of him not being on her same socioeconomic and educational level. That becomes the problem. So it makes it difficult for the black woman to be with a black man who doesn't equal her education and income because she feels that because she's the one with the more money or the more education, she should have a right to dominate him. And no self-respecting black man is going to let a woman run his life.
Wow.
Okay,
Is she
question,
looking
Doc.
at us through the eyes of the system then?